This is Steve from Boxing UK. What a joy to be joined by a local hero, Glenn McCRORY. How are you, mate?
I'm good, Steve. How are you, pal?
Very well. Right, Glenn, I'll get straight into it.
Good man.
We spoke to Johnny Nelson over Christmas.
Right.
And he was saying that you were calling him out. We've heard you
calling Johnny. I've been calling Johnny out for 35 years.
No go?
Nah. Hey, let's not go there.
Then it was Evander Holyfield, and now it's Roy Jones Jr. Who are you going to get, Glenn?
Evander doesn't want any. Johnny doesn't want any, and then you've got some brave soul called Roy Jones Jr. has piped up. Excellent.
Is he any good, Glenn?
I think he's got. To be fair, I think he's got a bit of form.
Is it happening?
You know what? This has got to be, Steve. This is, when I think about it, it sounded great on Christmas Eve. It sounded like it was a Christmas present. And then when you start training again, I realized that it's 27 years. It's 27 years. It's the longest comeback in history.
Aye.
This will be there's never been a comeback like it.
So, what would you say the chances of it happening is, Glenn?
I would say it was very good. Steve Wraith with the Newcastle United podcast spoke to Roy last Friday, and Roy was all, what's next? Glenn McCrory, just waiting to tie things up and all the rest of it, ready to come over. I got a message off him yesterday, and he'd seen me on a blog say that I'm going to nail him to the canvas. And he come back, he sent a message to somebody saying it is going to be so easy he's not even going to train.
He said that.
He did. And I thought thank God for that.
Are you training, Glenn?
I am. It's very difficult because obviously, with the COVID and the weather up here in my part of Newcastle, well, everywhere, isn't it? We've had terrible snow. We've had snow for weeks and weeks. So, it's getting out for runs and all that. So it's been pretty Spartan. It's been like Rocky IV, like in Siberia. It's been that sort of training. But we're getting on with it. My son's training me. He's doing great. My son Joe. I've just my best friend now is the physio and my bone guy who's sorting me out, Luke Ramsey, because it's the serious fact of it is when I've agreed to fight Roy, is the realization that it's 27 years, and that's a seriously long time. And because boxing, although I won a world title, was never that good to me, getting ripped off financially and all that. I got out very early, so it's tough. There's the chiropractor, as I said, that's going to be my favorite place over the next forthcoming weeks. But the main thing is, it's a great opportunity, and to be thought of, to get someone like the 5-weight world champion Roy Jones thinking of me, thinking that we can do a fight. That's great. And I'm super excited about it. I had a really bad time last year after a long period of mental health problems. It kind of really hit rock bottom, and I had to get help. And since then, it's the boxing and the prospect of a fight with somebody like Roy Jones, and the fact that I have to get in shape, is great. And I'm eating right. I'm not drinking. It's really good and really positive, and I'm getting excited.
It's great to hear that, mate. Well done. regarding the boxing side of it, Glenn, is it a scratch that you've got to itch because you retired relatively young, didn't you?
You know what? It's about redemption because I never got to my peak. I never got to my prime in boxing because I retired the first time at 25 when when my own people didn't give me enough time to make the weight, never mind getting condition, and then went off with my paycheck, and that was heartbreaking. Then having to pay to getting a tax bill and having to demoralize myself by having to fight Lennox Lewis, not prepared, but having to do that, in with a great fighter just to pay bills, really took an awful lot out of me, as a human, and it's this time, so many years later, is a time to sort of just prove something to myself, to prove I can get in at 56 years of age. I'm going to get in shape, and I'm going to go on one of the best fighters that's ever lived. And, he's only been retired a couple of years, and he just fought Mike Tyson and put in a very credible performance against an in-shape, solid Mike Tyson. So, it's a little bit about redemption. So, yeah, I'm excited. And, I'm gonna work as hard as I can. I mean, we're just hoping, I joked about the injuries, but that's a big, that's a big sort of handicap, because I haven't boxed, I haven't trained, I haven't, I've done other stuff. I've climbed mountains, I've done different things. And I purposely kept away from boxing because, it broke my heart. And now's a chance just to kind of put that to bed in, with something as good as a fight with Roy Jones. So, we've got a tough boxing. Simon Whittle is very keen. He's got a good relationship with Roy. He's got a good relationship with me. And he's very keen to get tough boxing into a big place in the sports arena. And, they're doing everything to get this fight made.
Do you miss it? Because a lot of fans call for you to come back.
Well, I'm still in it. I still do talk sport, free sport. I still do lots of comedy. So it's my last big show was we did Tyson Jones for BT. I was studio guest there, and then the comedy before lockdown was Fury Wilder for talk sport. So I'm very much in that. I'm not called the voice of boxing for nothing. So I love it, and I had, the one thing that, you can never get away for. I had, the best part of 30 years with Sky Sports, and it was absolutely fantastic. I had a massive long time, and things change, and that's great. I'm still on good terms with everybody. It's Sky. Good terms with people at BT. So I've got to be grateful, for what I had, and it was brilliant.
Can I ask you about the current scene, Glenn? Obviously, one of our local lads is fighting.
Is there a current scene? That's a heartbreaking thing. I mean, luckily they have managed to. Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren have still managed to get some shows on in these super difficult times, and I think that's very, very commendable that they've managed to do that, because I've been in this business for 40 plus years or whatever, and we'd be at a total loss if there was nothing whatsoever. So very happy that they've managed to keep it going under these difficult circumstances.
When's this going to change?
I mean, you've got Stewie. Stewie won Stewie won the bantamweight title. So, I mean, you've got to give him a lot of credit. We've got God, I forgot her name for a second.
Savannah.
Jesus, she'll not forgive me for that. Sorry, Savannah. Oh, the lovely Savannah. She's doing great. She's got a title. It's difficult, and I think that says nothing about the amount of talent that is in the Northeast. That says more about, the lack of TV up here, the lack of big opportunities up here, and that's never changed. We're a long way away from London in the Northeast, and it makes it so much more difficult for Northeast fighters, because for the majority, they don't like to travel and to rehouse themselves down in London. That sort of stuff is very hard. I did it myself, and it just wasn't for me. Well, there's no better place in the world than the northeast of England. So, they don't like to be away from that. But it's hard to get the TV opportunities up here. So you hang your hat on the Lewis Ritsons and the Josh Kellys to try and make an impact and get a foothold for the business up here, because we've got a load of amateur talent if we only had the outlet to get them regular work.
Yeah, the McCormicks is the first two that spring to mind, Glenn, isn't it?
Yeah, Cyrus Patterson. I mean, there's a boatload. Most of them at Burley, but there's certainly other kids. There's certainly other talent around as well. And you want to see all them guys with the right backing could do very well in the professionals.
Can I ask you about Josh tomorrow, Glenn? How do you think you'll get on?
Josh is a great. It's funny that you're talking about Josh. I've just sent him a message. I've just sent him a text, just wishing him luck and saying he's got this. And he's a tremendous talent. I think he could go an awful long way. He could go all the way. Definitely. It's just there's a few things I think he needs to iron out, and one of them for me is I love boxers that have their own styles. He drops his hands a little bit too much. He relies on reflexes. I don't know. People say Naz did, but Naz had a thunderous punch. He had a get out of jail punch as well. So Josh is a great talent, and I'll certainly be rooting for him. He's a great lad as well. I'll certainly be rooting for him tomorrow.
Last one on the current scene, Glenn. Big shock last week with Josh Warrington. How does a fighter come back from a defeat like that, Glenn?
Josh Warrington has an awful lot going for him. He's a great fighter. He's beat some superb fighters in his reign. There's a big problem with the COVID and the fights, with no crowd there. And sport wasn't meant. Sport is about a crowd. That's what it's there for. It's to entertain. And there's lots of problems can arise from not having a crowd. If I didn't have a crowd in Stanley, 32 years ago, I wouldn't be the cruiserweight champion of the world now. Some fighters just rely on that. And also, if you're not a little bit nervous or afraid or whatever, it's very, very difficult. And all of a sudden, you take away the crowd, it just becomes a very relaxed environment, too relaxed. And I think, also the Josh knew very little about his opponent, and he came over and I must admit, when he started off in the fight, he looked quite novice-y. Yeah. And I think Josh realized that straight away. He thought, I'm going to jump on him, I'm going to make a statement. But what he underestimated was the punch power. And it's too late all of a sudden when you trade with somebody that's a big puncher and they start catching you with shots, you're already rattled. And then, you try and make up for that by getting in and engaging again. And that's what he did, and just ran into more trouble. So I think it's a lot to do with Josh. He needs a crowd. He needs his beloved Leeds fans. That's part of him. That's what gets you going. That's, it's very hard. It's very hard if you're a warrior or a soldier. If you just by yourself having a fight, it's far better when there's an army behind you. You get up there a little bit more. So Josh will come again. People calling for him to retire and all that. That's ludicrous. He'll come again. He'll become world champion again. I guarantee it.
Lovely. Two very quick ones, Glenn. One, I've always wanted to know this one. When you won the world title in Stanley Leisure Centre, do you know what the official crowd was?
No idea, and I don't think you'll ever find it. You'll never find out because I think they broke every law.
That was the next question.
So don't ask anybody at the council. You know, it was an amazing. You know what? It was a once in a lifetime scenario where a Labour council, you know, probably the first time they've ever done it, a Labour council, put money on a professional boxing fight. You know, put the people's money, and the people were all quite happy for that because it brought something to the Northeast. It certainly brought an awful lot to Stanley, and you know, we made history that night. We made history, and it was an unbelievable crowd. Ian Dark, if you ask Ian Dark, who's commentated with me and with Jim Watt on some of the biggest fights in history, some of the greatest atmospheres in history. You ask Ian Dark or John Rowley from BT, what one of the best atmospheres ever was, and they'll say Stanley, Glen McCrory, Patrick Lumumba, because it was, you get Northeast fans. There are no fans like it on this earth. You know, they are the best fans in the world. And if you get, just the Sunderland, Middlesbrough, Newcastle all crammed into a leisure centre in Stanley, that was what the atmosphere was like. It was mind blowing, and I think they took doors off. You know, they did everything they possibly could to get the people in to build that atmosphere, and it was unforgettable. And it made for me the greatest night of my life.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken away from this, Glenn, and that's one of my first childhood memories. And that put Northeast boxing on a pedestal for a young lad here, and it's been pretty barren since, hasn't it? So
yeah, it's not for the want of trying with so many good fighters, but as I say, it's just, we haven't got the infrastructure up here, with the professional gyms, and that's part of the problem. It's COVID now. Where do you go for a gym? Everything's shut. Because you haven't got the full-on pro gyms. You haven't got, the full-on pro trainers or the promoters or all that sort of stuff. So the infrastructure's not here. But one day it will be here. And one day, the Northeast will shine once more.
Last word for you, Glenn. We'll tag Roy Jones Jr. into this one.
Good man.
Have you got a word for him?
Sorry?
Have you got any words for him?
I have. Do you know what? Just, he better train. He better train. Because, I am not coming back after 27 years to make up the numbers. I'm in it to win it. I'm in it to make a name for myself once more. So, Roy Jones, you just be ready. Just be ready, Roy.
Glenn, it's been an absolute treat, mate. I've rushed through it as quick as I can, as I promised. An absolute joy to speak to you, Glenn. I hope it's not too long before we catch up again.
Steve. Yeah, talk to you soon.
Lovely. You keep smiling, Glenn. All the best.
God bless, mate.